he got ejected, and they were like, "Oh my god, and Benyat's been ejected," and then he just kind of never left.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm open.
I'm open.
I'm open.
I'm open.
Welcome to the I'm Open podcast with Ryan, Joe, Andrew, and Sam.
What's
What's up?
Yeah, Andrew, welcome back, dude. Where have you been?
Did you guys miss me?
So much,
No,
dude.
no.
I think you guys held it down.
A lot.
You guys held it down without me pretty good. I think I'm
We talked about how
weight.
quick it went without you, and we were like, I wonder why.
Yeah, well, I'm back, baby, whether you like it or not.
3-hour podcast.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, as discussed, we're going to talk about obviously the biggest storyline of the weekend, which was just the Empire going west and playing 2 incredible games and winning both of them by 4. Yeah, what did you guys think? First thought.
They're fast.
Yeah, Ryan, you were there in person, and you were texting us about it. But yeah, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I was at the Summit game and I was on the sideline watching both. First thing I'll say is shout out to all the fans in Colorado because that stadium was packed. Like, I was talking to the Empire players post game and they were like, wow, like this was insane. Like, I wish all like Frisbee games were like this. So shout out to the fans who really showed up. That game was nuts. The sidelines, yo, Empire, y'all need to chill out. Like, y'all, they take it way too seriously. Like, if they don't score, it's like the world ended. And if they do score, it's like, all right, well, we did our job. All right, knocks on to the next point. And the Summit sideline, they're just like, there were a couple guys that are taking it seriously, but it's like it's more relaxed, more chill, more upbeat. But that game itself, like, I don't know if the Summit can beat the Empire if they face each other again in championship weekend. But I think, a couple more things go their way. It's not over. And I think the same goes with the Shred. Like, these teams, God, the Empire is just so good. Like, that's really all it is. So
I
yeah, that's my little spiel.
I wonder if that sideline thing you're talking about is why the Empire beat them by 4.
Yeah.
Could be.
If you have to ask, like, if they play again, maybe a championship weekend or otherwise, like, would the Summit win? And I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think this Empire team is just kind of tough to crack. Like, they're not immune to like turning the disc over, but something that I just kind of picked up on was like how good their O-line D is. Like their O-line's D is as good as any D-line in the league, really. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
So that was a huge difference in both of their games. Like, yeah, maybe there were some turns. And the Shred especially were like, Quinn Finer also for the Summit got a crazy layout D. So I mean, like there were some good Ds, there were some mistakes, but like they would get it back, or they would, I don't know, like you got Jeff Babbitt out there. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that before we move on to the Spikezilla?
No, I'll save my thoughts for the next game about like just Empire for the whole weekend.
Yeah. One thing I will say I noticed is that both games started like the exact same way. Like Empire turned it, got the D back, and held. And yeah, like I just wonder how different the games could have been if like they had actually got broken on that first point and didn't get it back. But I don't know. Maybe it would have turned out more or less the same. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to walk us through the spiking incident?
Yeah,
Andrew, what's your take on that?
Well, what exactly happened? So it was was it a break because Benyat scored, so he's on the D line. I can't even really remember, but
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so he caught a goal. It was a crazy huck, nice grab, and then he like spiked the disc, and then it looked like I want to say it was Chad Jorgensen, like said something to him after the first spike, and like I don't know if he picked up the disc and like handed it
Yeah,
to
he
him.
did.
It seems to me like he said something like, I don't know what he said honestly, but something like, "Hey man, like don't warp the disc," or I don't know, some comment about the spike, and then Benyat was like, "Oh yeah, well how about this?" And then like spiked it like 3 more times, and then got ejected, but then didn't get ejected. Like I don't honestly am really confused about how like he got ejected and they were like, "Oh my god, and Benyat's been ejected," and then he just kind of never left. So like
He got ejected and then went out for a couple points, but then there was like a coaches huddle with the refs, and it seems
Gotcha.
like just the way the announcers and also like the coach's interview mid game, like the coach was like, you know what, and
Yeah.
I mean Lepler said integrity rule. I don't know if that actually happened,
It
but
is. Yeah,
know,
that's what happened. That's what Bryce
okay,
Merrill
so
said in the interview too.
I listened to that interview. I thought he just like did he say integrity rule in the interview?
Yeah, he basically said like, well, in the interview, he said that Yacht was gassed and that he wasn't going to let Yacht get out the easy way, and so he wasn't going to let them eject him, and so it was like an integrity rule, and he said Yacht could come back.
Gotcha. So
Which
yeah,
is
so
that's such a good answer to
It
that
was
Yeah, that's
to that
so
excellent.
funny.
question. That's such a
Excellent
good
trash talk.
answer.
so I heard Bryce Merrill's answer, and like I love that answer. I'm honestly just thinking about the logistics of what it was, because I think the only person that said it was an integrity rule was Lepler on the call. Like I don't think Bryce actually said those words. And I know there was discourse on Twitter like what actually happened, because the integrity rule by the definition of the rule is like for like 3 specific things. You can't actually integrity rule an injection. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I think that's just like the way Lepler or how we're interpreting him letting him play,
Yeah. I think what happened was maybe a little bit outside of like the rule book, but maybe it was just like a discussion like, "Hey guys, like let him, what are we doing here?" Like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on it? Like, do you think the ejection was warranted? I think we're all kind of on the same page with that.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that
Oh
shit's
my
so
God.
fucking stupid.
That was
Like,
so
come
dumb
on.
that he got ejected in the first place.
These are grown adults, and like obviously, like I don't know.
If they're not
If you
pushing
if
each other and fighting, there's just no
yeah,
reason to eject a person.
if you like
Yeah.
watch any Colorado game and watch what Alex Atkins does every time he scores, like he's always doing something at the other team,
yeah.
Like, and who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, just a slight aside before we continue the spiking talk, I was so here for the Alex Atkins Benyat like beef. That was like
Mhm.
it was meant to be. Like
Yeah,
those two
course.
dudes just they're kind of on the same wavelength of like shit talking and like using that to get yourself fired up, I feel like.
Mhm.
And that was like excellent, like the back and forth with the like kissing at each blowing kisses, and like it was I thought that was like prime time frisbee beef. And
I wanted them to really kiss for sure.
Yeah.
yeah,
I still
yeah,
liked it.
that would have been sick. Yeah, I'm also I'm in agreement with you guys. Like I thought the ejection was just like that's ridiculous. Like unless like someone's I don't know, like the Growlers guy who got ejected last year. I think things were getting like a little out of hand, and it was like, all right, you got to get out of here, man. But I will say, like, I mean, should it have been like a yardage penalty? Like,
I think it
definitely.
was. I think it was. And also, yeah, totally fair. The yardage
like
penalty. Yeah.
it was so over the top. Like, let's not, it was way beyond like
It was
what
excessive.
it was.
Yeah, but also
it was
can we just, like,
hilarious.
can we
I loved
appreciate
it.
the
but
spikes for just like the art of the spike? Those spikes were really nice. He got
Strong.
distance. He like
Yeah.
had to take like many steps to go pick up the disc again for how far. It got height. It didn't just
Great
like hit the
technique.
ground and like stop there. It was the spikes were really nice.
And
and
it fucked the disc up too.
He was
Like, you
hunting
could
for
tell.
the edge. Yeah.
Yeah. You could
That
tell
rocked.
it was fucking the disc up. Yeah, was it excessive? Sure. Did it warrant an ejection? Probably not. I think at the end of the day, like the way everything played out, I think was perfect. Like I don't think I could ask for a better outcome.
Yeah.
Like the spike was entertaining, it was funny, or spikes multiple.
Mhm.
He got ejected, and then it was like, whoa, and then he didn't. So it was like, okay, we got best of both worlds there. We got the drama and the intrigue, but then he actually got to play the rest of the game. And I think that would have been just horseshit if Benyat was ejected from like probably the game of the season. You know,
Yeah.
this is probably
Do
the best game
you
of the season so
do
far.
you agree
but-
with Tire Biz that it was a false flag and that it was orchestrated?
I mean, I think Ben Yacht's just Ben Yacht. Like, I think he's just, I don't think you can script that,
Everything did play out like how you would expect it to, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know
So
if I believe in like the AUDL's ability to pull something like that off and not have any of us know about it. So,
yeah, that's the
but
strongest counter argument for sure.
but a hot take for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Man.
Anything about the game itself, like the shred game in particular, that you guys noticed or want to get off your chest?
Here, let me pull up the tier list while we get into the game talk.
Yeah.
I think it's just like I think both games showed that the Shred and the Summit are both pretty good teams, and you just have to be perfect if you want to beat the Empire, and it just is so hard to imagine it happening soon. It's crazy.
Do we think there's something to be said about the fact that, like, I was wondering, maybe we get an idea. I mean, obviously the Shred and the Summit have played each other head to head. Those games have been super close.
Mhm.
And I feel like these two games, I was maybe looking to see, like, okay, this is like, they're both playing the cream of the crop. How do they handle that type of matchup? And I feel like we still learned nothing. Like, the outcome, like the score was the same.
Yeah.
Which makes me almost feel like and the Shred was telling us this on Twitter at our last tier list, but like, is the Summit too low? Like, is the Summit just basically on the Shred's level and the Shred just got the better of them this year? And like, maybe we should, I don't know. We can talk
I
about
don't
I
that.
know.
mean,
But
we had the Summit higher before they lost to Oakland.
Yeah.
yeah,
so-
they lost to Oakland. Yeah.
My thinking
Like,
for well, I mean Carolina lost, so we'll probably move them down. But I was thinking I still think the Hustle should be above the Summit because I want to say the Hustle also lost by 4, but like that was in New York, and I feel like that's a much harder game to go to New York and play them.
Okay. I like that logic. That
Like
adds
having
up to me.
a similar outcome, like without the home field advantages.
yeah, they also just dicked on Carolina too, but
Yeah,
that's besides the point.
They did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I don't think like it's I don't think we can move the Summit up over them because of that, but like I do agree it's a tight group here in the A tier.
Something I do want to bring up also, Sam, you said this weekend, we were talking about the Hustle Carolina game at some point, and I'd heard on Swing Pass. I didn't watch the game, so I don't remember who was active or not, but something about Joe White wasn't in the game, and some other big dogs on Carolina weren't there. Which I think had to do with the score. And you said B tier behavior for not having like your good player. Like, I think there's something to be said about like these good teams bring the same, like their best players, and they have that consistency. And Carolina hasn't had that same like consistency this year. So I don't know how we feel about that, but
Yeah, I agree. When I was looking at Twitter and like seeing the rosters dropped, and I saw Carolina's roster, I was like, I usually know most of the people on this team, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know. I know like six names, and the rest are like, who the fuck are these guys? And it's like, no wonder that they couldn't hang with Hustle. Like they just didn't bring their team. Like,
Yeah.
So
And
do we? I
that's-
mean, I don't know how much we want to like read into that, or do we want to say, oh, maybe they would have done better if they had their guys.
Well,
No, they played that way. They played that way. If they had brought better players, maybe they would have played better, but that's not what they did.
Yeah.
Personally, I think
let's talk about this A tier. Do we think the Breeze is the number 2 team in the league?
No.
So
over Shred.
You still Shred?
I'm still Shred.
I'm still Shred personally.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean,
go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say DC has been playing much better, but technically they just went to overtime with a D tier team, even though that's mostly because they couldn't be in the C Central tier. But like,
Right.
still, they don't look as threatening as the Shred. They look I don't know. It looks like they have a set plan for every game, and when that doesn't work, they don't really know how to adjust. Is kind of like the most basic way of putting it. And so like I don't know, just like kind of general vibes wise, I feel like the Shred have like just
They're so
more
fun.
firepower and
Yeah.
just like definitely a better defense too. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the Breeze game was closer to the Empire, but for
Yeah.
once, I'm gonna not do transitive property to prove my point.
I
Yeah,
think this
that's the
whole
thing.
A tier is just a wash. Like the Summit Shred, like they're from top to bottom. And like I'm biased because I'm a Summit fan, but like both those losses were 1 point losses and they were really tough matchups. Like if I was setting a line right now for like if they were playing this week, I'd set it at Shred -0.5. You know what I mean? That's how close these teams are. And literally Breeze, Hustle, Flyers, like if you have a full roster with the Flyers versus a full roster on any other of these teams, like I think it's like those 5 teams in the A tier, and it's just like where you put them is, how you value where each team is on your own opinion,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think
It's
Carolina
tough.
goes at the end for sure.
I think that's
Yeah, I
valid.
agree.
And then
I think the Hustle should be moved up to third.
Yeah.
I think so
I think
too.
so. I think so. I don't know if I feel like really confidently about that, but they're nasty.
Yeah, I think I've been more Hustle over Breeze, or I've been the Hustle over Breeze guy this whole time. But
Yeah.
I mean, like Ryan
yeah.
said, it's neck and neck.
The way I feel about the Breeze is like they've gotten the job done for the most part. But I feel like we still haven't seen them like really firing on all cylinders. It just feels like they're still kind of working out the kinks. And honestly, at times, like it looks, I'm not gonna pretend to like know that much about what kind of strategy they're running, but it doesn't always look like the smoothest, and it doesn't look like some of their most athletic players are like the most in their element a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just need, I don't know. I don't know how much more time you need. We've had like the whole season basically to figure it out. And it still kind of feels like things look, I don't know. I don't know. Like I just get kind of a funny feeling watching them, but I know like they're a really good team and they have like amazing players. And we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I agree with kind of having Hustle higher just based off of vibes.
They also
but,
just like don't even dominate bad teams. They like
yeah,
even in some of their bad games that they did win by a decent margin, it was like the whole first half. You're like, what is going on right now? Like, why are the
Yeah.
Glory up? What's going on here? There's never been a game where I
Even
was like
that-
from start to the end. Yeah, even that Montreal game, the
Even the
third quarter.
Montreal, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like I don't
I
really
feel like
know.
we've been saying unlocks the box all season, but I don't think they've really unlocked the box. Like I see glimpses of like
Box.
he can't be guarded sometimes, but I just feel like they're not taking advantage of you know of his like athleticism
Yeah.
and some of the mismatches sometimes. But like he was I watched at least the end of the Philly game and he was like cooking his dude, and they would only find him like a couple times like on an offensive possession. I was like, this guy can, I don't know, like he can burn his guy. Like didn't feel like they were getting the most out of players like Boxley and some of their other cutters. So I don't know. I feel a little
What was the
lukewarm.
score in the Hustle Flyers game?
I think it was like a 6-point game.
Yeah, Hustle really like turned it on.
25-19.
Yeah.
All right. I think this A tier set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
looks good to me.
Yeah.
And then let's roll down to B. Yeah, I think the only game was Oakland beating LA, which
I don't think changes anything here.
Yeah, that was tough.
But that was a crazy game.
That was an awesome game.
That
LA
game was
kind of
insane.
choked it though. Like
Yeah.
LA had that game in the bag, and then they just gave it up to them.
Fumbled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely bring up the like insane sequence of events that happened towards the end of regulation. that was crazy. I haven't seen something like that in a frisbee game. But basically, my interpretation was Aviators had the disc, and then a Spiders guy got like a sick fucking layout D. But then they said that there was a timeout call before the play or something, which I'd never seen that before. So they let the Aviators keep it. And then I think the Spiders got a break anyway later on. Am I correct in saying like later on that point?
I don't recall what happened on that point, but in overtime, literally that exact same situation happened, but for the other team, for the Spiders.
Yeah.
And like literally like there was a layout D or something, and then like timeout call, and the announcer goes, that was like the Spiders head coach, like best timeout of his life. And Andrew and I were on a call together talking, and we're like, wait, what just happened? Like,
Yeah.
who's like, how can you call timeout? Like, that's not Landisman calling the timeout there. And they're like, Spider's gonna retain the disc. I'm like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that shit
really
happens like way more than I would want. I don't know how to like, because I remember that happened in the DC Empire game that Joe and I were at earlier. Jeff Babbitt got like an insane layout, like catch block.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they had called timeout. And like, yeah, I don't know how, like what, I guess there's nothing you can do because like it takes like 1 second to throw the disc, whereas like, you know, call timeout, then whistle, then everyone noticed the whistle. That takes like 5 seconds.
And I think usually what happens is there's a coach right next to a ref on the sideline 30 yards away, like has the stall in his head. And it's like, oh shit, it's stall 5. I don't see anything open. I'm going to call timeout so we don't turn the disc here. And then because of that, like timeout's called, but then it's still stall 5. The thrower's like, I got to get rid of it. And then it's a bad decision. And then there's a turnover, but timeout brings it all back. So,
yeah. I guess as like it makes sense. If that's how it went down, that's fine, you know. But as a spectator, it was like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, are the refs calling timeouts? Like, what is happening?
Well, also the Spiders players had no idea. Like Aviators like had their O-line on or whatever, and the Spiders players like put their O-line on thinking they had the disc. And then all of a sudden they're all putting their hands up like, what's going on? And I just see Everest like in the backfield or something, like clapping or like just like smiling because he knows what's going on. And that was hilarious.
It was crazy. But yeah, Oakland has done this so many times this year where they just win like some crazy fucking game, and it's like exciting as fuck. Like, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, they win those games, you know, that's cool. I guess it's just credit to them, and they've had some crazy games this year. I don't know how many other teams, like, it just feels like the Summit, like buzzer beater, the overtime win at home against Seattle, like earlier on. I think that was their first game, and then this, like, they just,
the Salt Lake home win was also, or home loss, sorry, was super close.
Yeah,
like they're just always neck and neck.
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, I don't really know what to make of it, but you know, they pull out those wins. The Aviators had to win that game, and they just didn't. So,
and they were up by a decent margin too.
Yeah, they really should have won that game. They had to win that game, and they were in a position where, like, most of the time, the team that's up by that much, like, is able to get the job done, and they just didn't.
They really boofed it.
Do we feel like they get like a demerit for
boofing it
like that? I kind of want to, because I feel pretty good about Boston too.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad boof. I don't know. It
was a bad boof.
But at the same time,
they also,
I think they did better than I expected. You know, like I thought maybe Oakland would handle that game a little better.
So, if they had won by that much, I would have been like, whoa.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they were kind of playing out of their minds, but like you just can't give up that many breaks in a row. Like you just can't let the other team back in it. I mean, I'll defer to what the rest of you guys think. I almost want to knock them down a tick because Boston's gotten the job done this year. You know, by comparison.
It's true.
I'm fine giving Boston that nod. I mean, they're in the playoffs.
I mean, Ryan, you're a Boston guy.
Not officially.
Bro.
Not officially. Hold on.
Well,
they got to beat Montreal.
They have to lose to Montreal.
They have to, they have to beat Montreal, and then they're in. If they lose to Montreal, then if Toronto beats DC and Philly, Toronto would be in. But
No
Philly's
way.
done. Philly's done.
Yeah.
I love DC's tweet at them. Have a great offseason.
Yeah, DC was being mean yesterday.
They were being mean. It was kind of out of character for the general like DC Twitter tone. I was like, huh, all right.
Yeah, they were going for it.
It's spicy.
Calling them the fire chickens.
I did appreciate James Pollard being like, yeah, this was a quality loss. Our Twitter person needs to chill out.
Yeah.
It just made me like separate the Twitter from the team a little bit.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, should we bring them back up to bottom of B if we're separating the Twitter from the team?
Well,
they
listen, they're out of playoff contention, and the Rush are still in playoff contention. I mean,
I don't think they should be in B, but I also think that maybe the C Central should just change.
Yeah, maybe we should
and we could put them in C.
Do we
Okay,
just Has Minnesota separated themselves from the rest of the Central? I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that much.
Have they only lost to the Union once, right?
Yeah, I guess. And I guess they were missing like their dudes.
Yeah. The real thing that brought them down was getting creamed by Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
Minnesota is 9-2. Their only loss is to Colorado and one game to the Union where they're up to they've separated themselves from the rest of that C Central.
They did just donk on the Union.
Yeah.
They maybe deserve
the
to
Alley
not
Cats,
be the worst team in B. They maybe deserve to be a little higher.
I think
they're probably better than the Glory. They're a 1 seed. The Glory are fighting for the 3 seed.
Yeah, I think
but the Aviators did better in Colorado than Minnesota.
That's true.
Did.
That's true.
I think we're putting a lot of stake on that Colorado game, and the only thing I'll say is like, road trips are tough, and playing a totally different team when they are better than you, like I feel like once you go down, you go down. So
I agree with you,
but it was like
it's just funny to say that with the Empire's road trip this weekend.
Well, yeah.
But I agree with you.
So
I don't know. I think they're better than the Aviators. Yeah, honestly, though.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they're better. It's weird because like they're like,
we're talking about putting a lot of stock in one game. Yeah, but the whole Central is C tier. I mean, you can be
the whole Central is pretty terrible.
You can be B tier though. And
I mean,
beat
personally, I support moving them up there because I still do not believe in Boston, and I don't think Boston is that good. And I think the real conversation should be about if Minnesota's better than the Aviators. But if we're already going to put them ahead of the Aviators, then I think they're better than the Glory too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
think.
Okay.
My only argument for having Glory like ahead of Minnesota is like I think Glory's division is much stronger, and we're putting a lot of stock in like them beating up on the Union.
Andrew, if these two teams are facing each other, who would you put your money on?
I don't really know, but I think that the Glory might win. Like I don't know.
Lines
they surprised me.
Lines half a point. Ryan's lines? Who you picking?
I think Minnesota is like kind of a pretend, like they're kind of pretenders. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if like we're giving them a ton of credit right now.
I feel you.
We're giving them a lot of credit.
In a neutral site, I think I would set the line at 2.5 for Minnesota.
I would take Glory on that line.
I would take Minnesota. I also think you're putting too much stock in the Glory being in the East, and you keep saying that they keep surprising you, but I think that's just because Philly is surprisingly bad. They keep beating up on Toronto and Philly, but like they lost to the Hustle by 6. They lost to the Empire by 10. They lost to the Breeze by 6 this year.
All right.
Technically, they also lost to the Empire by 3, but
also like Minnesota would go to DC and lose by like 15. I feel like
Minnesota's had one test this year, and they
did.
Failed. They
honestly
failed.
like
they failed.
How much do you think they'd lose by if they have to go to DC? Right?
Yeah,
like probably a very large number. I don't know.
Maybe we should just flip a coin for who's higher, Glory or Wind Chill.
I don't know. I don't care too much. I'm okay with having Glory below. Glory would want to be lower anyway.
Yeah.
If we can flip a coin, I'm gonna flip a coin.
All right.
This doesn't count. I didn't get to flip it. All right, heads. We'll keep Minnesota above. Oh,
Ooh.
tails.
Sorry,
it's
wind
meant
chill
to
talk,
be.
mom.
Boston Glory, you're gonna be mad about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be pissed.
true.
All right. Yeah, let's get into C tier. The Cats beat the T-Birds by 2 to earn their spot. Colorado lost by a lot to earn their spot.
Colorado is not in the C
or
tier.
sorry, Chicago. And the Rascals didn't play.
Rascals, no, they didn't play.
How do we feel about Union where they're at versus Pittsburgh? I mean, I guess this is like splitting hairs.
Yeah, no, it's tight. Because they just played twice, like 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks
Yeah, and
ago,
split
and they
them.
went 1-1. But Union had the better goal differential. I think is kind of the
Mhm.
only.
All right.
reason.
I mean,
I don't know.
I guess nothing's really changed that dramatically to be like, oh, let's move Pittsburgh up. Like, so I don't know. We can keep it how it is.
Yeah, I think C tier is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the Rascals.
You think the Rascals don't belong?
Well, I don't know. I keep
They're
arguing
pretty
for them
terrible.
being higher than they are because all their losses were by a point. But
It's
I don't
tough. It's tough. I think the
don't
truth
know.
lies somewhere in the middle. Like, look,
Yeah.
Minnesota has a great record. We're like, oh, that looks really good, but like, are they really that good? And then also, I think the reverse is true for Madison. It's like, oh, the record's terrible, but I don't think
Yeah.
they're that bad. But at the end of the day, you're right. What else can we really use to judge you?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they deserve to be in D, but
I still think they might be.
Probably.
they didn't play. We
Toronto.
should keep them. We should keep them.
Just keep them. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about this D, F, and Mechanics tier because we're
Yeah.
gonna shake that up.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them all together. So, these two teams won.
Yeah,
They won.
they won. Congratulations.
So congrats to the Mechanics.
Congrats, Brooks
for
Wallace.
reclaiming the throne. At
Growlers,
the
Ducatron.
The Growlers lost.
They lost
Nitro.
two.
Nitro.
The
and
Nitro and the
Seattle.
Cascades.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's bad.
gotta drop Houston below Dallas. I think, even
Well,
if
the
they are
Growlers-
2-1, even if they're 2-1 against them.
What was the
Right.
score of the game? Was it a big difference?
Yeah, it was like 7 or something.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
But
Drop 'em.
the thing is, Houston beat them twice, and Dallas just beat them once, and then they're gonna play again.
All right.
And I feel like Houston's results have been better across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did lose by like 7. So
Shout out to there's a couple people on Twitter that were calling Legion getting their dub this week. I mean, Elliot Moore specifically tweeted at us. He was like, "Can we make a bet?" And kind of ghosted it. But busy. We're busy people,
well,
and
good thing we didn't make a bet.
and
Mhm.
we don't pay attention to the Legion that
I
often.
took the Legion in Ryan's lines. I
Ryan's
felt
lines.
it.
Nice. Yeah, what do you guys think about this order? Do you think it's wrong or right?
The Growlers literally
Fine.
played Houston this year and they beat them, right?
Yeah.
That's funny how quickly things can change. Like I remember they went and they beat Houston and then they played some other weird like South.
I think Austin.
And they played Austin. And then I remember after that road trip, it was like, oh, like San Diego, like maybe
Yeah.
they're okay. And it's now here we are
Yeah.
in F tier.
They're like the Rascals of the West. They have all these close losses, and then I mean this weekend they just fell apart. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God.
And I'm looking at like the Growlers and I'm looking at the Rascals and I'm like, these are kind of similar teams, and we have the Rascals tiers higher than
Well,
them.
I was gonna say this D tier looks awfully similar to the Rascals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
Now that
with
they're
that.
like, it's all teams that like can win a game but are not good. And now that we have a bunch of these like terrible teams in F, I kind of feel like the Rascals might deserve D.
Mhm.
Yeah, like all these teams in C have either been in the playoff hunt or they've all had
they
playoff
were. They all were.
aspirations.
Pittsburgh
the
just got knocked out. Yeah.
The Rascals really quickly just had 0 playoff hopes. Cascades, I don't think that's ever really been realistic. And then I mean the Rush, like what do we do with you guys? Because I also think that you're not good at all, but
No, the
technically
Rush.
you could.
Yeah, but the Rush also like had a bunch of early games this season that they probably should have won if they really wanted to be a playoff team, and they kind of are just lucky that they had more games remaining than Philly, and that's the only reason that they're in the playoff race still.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. There's no way that Well, what needs to happen for that? Like Boston
they
needs
have to
lose
beat
to
they have to beat
Montreal.
Philly, and they have to beat DC, and Montreal has to beat Boston. So
that's just not
It's
so
not really
technically they're in the
playoffs.
hunt, but
yeah, they don't even hold their own fortune in their hands. It's not even like, oh, they upset the Breeze and they upset Philly, they're in. They also just have to hope that Montreal wins a game this year.
Okay, so they're not even like a real playoff team. So
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of funny to me that last year there was 3 candidate teams and we didn't really know what to do with any of them. And now,
no idea.
Now there's 2 and we're just like, all right, well, Montreal sucks in Toronto, but who are you? D tier, whatever.
Yeah, we know what to do with Montreal.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
I feel for the Mechanics. They had 2 teams below them finally, and both got a win, and they're the worst team in the league again.
I think we scared them straight by putting them down there.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Are the Growlers the best team in the F tier?
I think so. Because they literally beat Houston, and then Nitro and Legion. Come on, really? Like,
they're definitely better than Nitro and Legion.
Yeah,
the Growlers have other. The Growlers have other wins too, though, don't they? Didn't they?
I think they have 2 wins.
They beat the Nitro.
Yeah, I think it's just 2 wins.
They probably beat the Nitro,
but they have so many quality losses.
Yeah, that loss to LA was tight.
Where the fuck is this? Okay. Yeah, let's see. Lost by 7 to Colorado, beat Nitro by 3, beat Houston by 6, lost to Austin by 4. Yeah, lost to LA by 1.
Oof.
Lost to Oakland by 4. Lost to Seattle. Oh, they lost to Seattle both times. That's
they
right.
Lost to Seattle twice. Damn.
That's rough. Seattle's so happy that the Growlers are in their division.
Not a good end of season for this team.
No, they only had the shred once, right?
It looks like it.
Lucky them.
Yeah, for
real. And it was at home.
Real lucky for them.
It could have been something.
They really made the most of that.
Also, God, 18-15. What a score! That's just gross.
I really like
watch that game.
Did not watch. Did not.
No. I watched a quarter of it, and I
think I also did. Yeah.
I mean, that's 1 point off of the Empire Summit game, which is one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, but you know that's like good defense.
Let's look at turnover. Let's look at turnover
not
totals.
Like terrible.
That's true. That's true.
I would love to see the turnover totals. Okay, let's see.
That's not that bad.
That's actually pretty low.
Bad. But only 3 blocks for the Growlers.
35. Yeah,
19,
14 blocks, 35, and then 30.
Wow,
and more blocks. So
exactly. Hey, shout out Patrick Krantz. I met a former Mechanics player at a tournament this weekend who has won a game. Very hard to find people these days. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah,
he's a player, a former Mechanics player who has won a game for the Mechanics.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, whoa. Oh my God, that's way cooler than.
Yeah. He played
Unicorn.
I know, because he was wearing a Mechanics hat, and I was like, "Oh, are you a fan?" He's like, "I actually used to play for them," and I was like, "Oh, really? When?" He was like, "Back in like 2016," and I was like, "Have you won a game?" He was like, "Yeah, we beat the now defunct like Cincinnati team or something." And I was like, "Nice,
whoa,
yeah, that is crazy."
Wow, he's still playing frisbee. He's not retired. He's not in an old folks home.
Yeah,
he's got that. He's got that tattoo. That game, the last game he won, tattooed on his arm.
Nice. Is
this a tier list? Yeah,
is this a tier?
I think this is a tier list.
This is it.
Yeah, I think anything more would be like way too nitpicky.
Yeah. I like to look at it. I think Minnesota's just the big question, but I think we're never gonna know.
They
So,
failed their. I mean, we kind of do know they fucking blew.
yeah,
That's fair.
they kind of blow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of I'm Open with
I'm Open.
by Ringer the Ultimate. Follow us
Open.
on Threads. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah. If you've made it this far, buy a
Subscribe.
Click the
t-shirt.
link.
Come on.
The
Buy a
Go
t-shirt. Link
buy
right
to
here.
our
a
merch store.
Mechanics 69 World Tour shirt. It's fire.
Get one of those.
Yeah.
Open.
And I'm open.
I'm Open.
Bye bye.